Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the April 9th, 2019 informal work session of the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners. It's now 1:30 and we'll go ahead and start. Our first thing is agenda item number A for work session, and we do not have any work session scheduled for this afternoon, so we'll move into our informal session. And this is a time that's reserved for briefings, receipt of reports, consultation among commissioners and staff, reports from commissioners on recent actions in their areas of responsibility, and other personal administrative decisions as appropriate. And I do believe we have Bill Gilligan, so he'd like to talk to us about something. So, Bill, come on forward.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. We have before you today an award letter from the Department of Transportation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bridge project.
Thanks, Bill.
There's some pictures and location map. I brought Jonathan Wilson with me today. He's our intern from George Fox.
Hi, Jonathan.
Jonathan, are you going to come to the table?
You can come sit up at the table with Bill.
Welcome.
I mean, a great George Fox, even though I'm probably wearing the wrong shirt.
It's all right.
Should wear my Bruin shirt today. I do have a Bruin shirt.
Justin is representing.
So just briefly, the process for getting a bridge grant in Oregon is you apply to the local bridge program. It's a statewide competition. We did that back in October of 2017. That goes through kind of a sorting process. The state picks out about 150% of what they think they can fund, and they go through an on-site scoping process for that 150%, which we did in September of 2018. Then you negotiate a final scope and cost application. They bring to that on-site scoping meeting lots of environmental folks and technical folks that say, raise this dollar amount or lower this dollar amount. And anyway, you negotiate a final project through that process. So we arrived at a final scope and cost application in November of 2018. And then this award letter came in the latter part of March of this year. And you can see from the award letter, they've given us till May something or other to accept or deny. So, and talking with Ken, he said, well, let's bring it to the board and discuss it before we obligate the county's matching funds. So the award amount, as you can see on the front of the award letter, is for $1,080,226. That's the total project as currently estimated. 10.27% of that is local match, which I have handwritten down below that. That's $110,934.21. Typically, when the state goes through the intergovernmental agreement process, they will instead of 10.27%, they'll kick it up to like 15% to make sure if bids come in a bit higher or whatever, they've got enough of our money on hand to make sure the project goes through. So it'll be maybe up to $120,000 that they'll ask us to put into a holding account that they'll draw down on as the project proceeds. None of that happens, of course, unless you folks agree to move forward, and assuming you agree, I'll tell them to craft an intergovernmental agreement and then bring it back to you for signatures and execution, make sure everything looks okay.
Okay, I don't know if this is for Ken or for Chris. Can we just add this to the formal action for Thursday's agenda? Okay, so let's add this under new business then?
Can do.
On Thursday's formal agenda for approval, and so Bill can get going on, they can get going on that. Okay, so we'll get that on Thursday's agenda, and so you can get going on it. It's a great deal. Thanks for your hard
Thank you.
work, Bill.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you. Appreciate your work.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd ask if anybody else, if they wanted to talk. Carrie, you or Michaela or Justin have anything at all? Didn't think so.
I thought we were gonna talk about the packet,
It's on the agenda for Thursday.
the consent.
That hasn't been determined yet.
Oh, I see.
And we'll determine that today. So that takes us department reports, and we don't have any department reports today, so that'll take us into Thursday's formal session agenda review, and you have the draft agenda in front of you. On the consent agenda right now, we have the minutes A through E of the January 10th, 17th, February 19th, February 28th, and March 15th informal, so we'll go ahead and leave those on the consent agenda. We don't have any old business, proposed old business right now, so that'll take us to other business, and we can either elect to add these to the consent agenda or leave them off the consent agenda for discussion. And the first one is consideration of approval of an agreement between the Housing Authority of Yamhill County and the Yamhill County Health and Human Services to support low-income housing needs retroactive to April 1st, 2019. So Mary, you have anything to say? You want to add anything on that one?
No, Mr. Chair, but basically what this is just our Health and Human Services contracts with the Housing Authority for our low-income housing vouchers.
Okay, so the commission, we want to move that to the consent agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's move D1 to the consent agenda. That'll take us to D2, and this is consideration to authorize the Silas O'Halloran Steiner on behalf of Yamhill County Health and Human Services, YCHHS, to apply for the Promoting Integration of Primary and Behavioral Health Care Grant administered through Oregon Health Authority to support YCHHS as a certified community behavioral health. I'm not going to go through another clinic. I'm not going to go through another acronym. Application deadline is April 5th, 2019. So, Mary.
That, again, basically is just the grant for our behavioral health clinic status as a certified community behavioral health clinic. And
Okay.
just to apply for the money to go ahead and do that.
And that's a three-year grant, I believe.
Is it 3? I think it's 3 years, yeah.
And does that, I didn't read it real closely, Silas, but I did look through it, and that covers all the costs of that program for 3 years, so
Yep.
we aren't out anything out of the general fund,
Nope.
because if that's the case, I am very concerned about new staffing and everything over the next couple of years, especially what we have to do with PERS, but if this is covered under, if everything's covered under the grant, then I'm okay of moving it to the consent agenda.
Yes,
So,
it
okay,
is.
let's move D2 to the consent agenda.
This is the one where we still don't know at the federal level whether they're going to fund it, right? But the state is acting
Yes.
Yes.
in the assumption it will be.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Item number D3 is consideration of approval of the following changes to the Yamhill County Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Committee, and there's 3 action items, and one is to accept the resignation of Charlie Bates. Number 2 is to appoint Pauline Meadowsin and Tiffany Swanson, whose terms would expire in May 2022, and then to reappoint Robert Porad, Tim Swenson, Nancy Kayam, Christy Long, Megan Ramos, and Aaron Stevens McKay, terms to expire in May 2022. So, any discussion on that?
So, no, this is just our Mental Health Developmental Disabilities Advisory Committee, and
Yep.
they, I'm on that board, and happy to see that we're going to have Aaron Stevens McKay and Pauline Metoxen and Tiffany on the board. Charlie Bates has been a real active part of the committee for a number of years, and I'm sorry to see him not re-up.
Okay, Casey, any comments?
No?
Normally,
That's nice.
because this is such a specialized advisory committee, normally I'd like to see us go through the normal appointment and advertisement, because this is knowing both Pauline and Tiffany, and this is such a specialized committee that I'd recommend that we move that to the consent agenda. So, is that okay? Okay, so let's move D3, A through C to the consent agenda. Item number 4, consideration of adopting Resolution 1904-11-1, proclaiming April 7th through 13th as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. I don't think there's any question on that one.
No.
So let's move that to the consent agenda. So D4 to consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chair, the only thing about that is
Yeah,
we
well,
need to
we-
make sure you read the resolution into the record on Thursday, so I don't know if you'd want to keep it off the consent agenda for that reason, or just before you adopt the consent agenda, read the resolution.
Let's put it under new business then,
So let's-
Ken, instead of consent, and that way I'll
Yeah,
read
that's
the
when we have this
resolution.
order.
I'll read the resolution under new business. And then number 5, consideration of accepting a proposed structure for the Yamhill County Economic Development Community Grant Program. So we've gotten a lot of work, and Carrie's gone through that, and Sedcor and Abishaw. So what would we like to do with that? Discuss it some more Thursday, or just put it on the consent agenda, or discuss it under new business?
I'm happy for us to put it on the consent agenda. I think we've pretty much determined what the parameters are.
I do
think
too.
At this
A lot
point.
of people worked on it, so.
And with everybody that's worked on it, so let's move item D5 into the consent agenda for approval. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. You
Yeah.
guys did a great job on that.
And then I'll,
Glad to see the finished product.
and then I'll just need to verify, because we may need to update the language, because I know there's a committee that also goes with this, and I just need to confirm
VDAC.
whether or not we also need to appoint that committee to do the reviews for this or not, so.
Right, or if that's Sedcor's.
Right, there,
I think if I remember right, Carrie, tell me if I'm wrong, doesn't EDAC appoint the subcommittee to review the grants?
Exactly the opposite. The commission appoints the subcommittee, but Sedcor appoints the advisory. council.
So.
okay, so we will need to make that an action, as part of this motion, would be accepting the structure and appointing the committee members.
Okay, so let's leave that under new business, and we can do both of them under new business,
Okay.
And the allocation, excuse me.
Okay,
and the allocation.
right, the money into the grant
The
program.
thing Ken wants to spend, the money Ken recommended that we spend.
There's that, Tim?
260? Are you asking me the number?
The numbers.
No, you mentioned something. I'll work on that,
Okay,
because I
so let's just
don't,
leave it at whatever items need to be under new business.
because this is budgeted in next budget year, so we're not going to take action. I don't think the board would take action to set that amount, because that's part of the budget
committee,
process.
Budget
I see,
process.
okay.
That the amount that's available for the grants will be determined
Yeah.
as part of the budget process,
Next
not
year.
outside of that.
Okay,
Got it.
so we'll just approve this officially under new business
The
Thursday,
structure
then
and the appointment of the
committee.
committee.
Then the appointment of the committee. And you'll have all that as part of the packet, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good to me. So we'll keep item number D5 under new business for Thursday's formal agenda. We do have a public hearing, and that's an appeal, so you want to talk a little bit about that, Christian, or since it is a public
Yeah,
hearing?
I mean, it's set for hearing on Thursday, so.
Okay. And that's the Abbey Road public hearing?
I honestly don't know that much more about it.
You're doing
This
great.
is.
Yeah, you're doing really good.
This is related to their application, but I think it had, there was a separate application required for their changes to the guest rooms.
Yeah.
Bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah,
hear more.
okay, so we will have a public hearing on Thursday morning, though, on docket number C 34-18, which is an appeal. And then any announcements for today, or we want to say our announcements for Thursday?
Go
I'll
ahead.
have some Thursday, but Mary, you have any?
Casey?
Yeah, Casey, go ahead.
I have a potential announcement, which is that I talked to Public Works. A lot of people have wanted to have a housewarming and open house.
Open house at Public
the new
Works.
Public Works building, and so I asked them, and May 14th ended up being the day that they thought would work best for them. And I haven't checked with Ken, because I just came back from the meeting, but we can figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out, and we want to make sure if we do have one, that gets advertised for the public to
Yes.
come.
You know what that reminds me of, Commissioner? Remember when you were little and you brought your friend home and you said, "Mom, can she stay for dinner?" And what's Mom gonna say? No, go home?
That's right.
So she stayed for dinner.
Totally.
Ken, I think you've lost control.
I think so. That's right. He wasn't there. I
Yeah.
was gonna ask him.
I wasn't able to be there this morning,
That's,
so.
that's good. So whatever day, you work out the date and then we'll make
But I
sure we get it.
suggested that if to really get all the commissioners there, that we could always have our board commissioner meeting there. And just throwing lots of things.
Boy,
at
he's-
you. I'm pushing it. It's can you stay for dinner and then stay
Uh,
overnight?
I
And
would-
stay
I would-
overnight.
I would
Spend the
recommend,
weekend, why not, Casey?
I would recommend that you came up with it now that we turn it over to staff for coordination and advertising.
That's right.
Pressure's on them.
And then I
so.
also learned today that as part of the ongoing improvement of Old Sheridan Road, that we get the pedestrian bridge back from the city that we own over the Cozine. And so I thought, well, let's start doing some brainstorming on where we need a pedestrian bridge.
Or, okay, if you want.
It's not big enough for what you're thinking about.
So we
Just-
we could have a meeting out there, like, we could have a commissioners
Yeah, let's have a
meeting out
summer
there
meeting
and-
on the Cozine
Right on
pedestrian
the-
bridge. I
Why
think
not?
when they tear that down, since it's built onto the other bridge, I don't think it's gonna be used for much, but
I don't know, it's in their scope.
why don't you take it out to the farm?
I think we would need to have a public process for that one.
We'd have to surplus it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's right. We actually talked about
I was
that.
just gonna bring up that Hill Road is actually, now that they've got it all, where they've got the flags up, starting to look good. I'm still a little concerned about the S corners, but, that where it narrows down to get around
Yeah.
that S corner, but it looks like it's gonna be pretty good, be a safe,
And they're gonna start paving next Thursday.
the
Is
whole,
plan.
the whole
Yep.
road.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've
Thursday
been,
and Friday of
they've
next
been
week.
paving the edges
Yeah.
and everything, so hopefully it won't fall off into the ditch. But it will be definitely better for bicyclists and joggers out on Hill Road.
But if they were serious about looking for a home for that pedestrian bridge, I'm wondering if Roy should connect with Jared and see if there's some possible
One of the
uses
parks.
in one of the
Yeah.
parks.
Yeah, what the language is that they will disconnect it and then they're gonna put it where Public Works is gonna bring a lowboy and they're just gonna. put it
Yeah,
on
city will disconnect it as part
Okay.
of their
Yeah.
reconstruction.
The bridge contractor for the city.
It's probably too small for Stag Hollow. No.
That's why, yeah.
Just need 111 feet.
That's a long bridge.
We can't talk about that, sorry.
No.
So anyway, Mary, do you have any announcements now that we've given it to Casey bad enough?
Yes, so this weekend was the Newburgh Dundee a Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, which has been going on for 30-something years. Mayor Scott Hill joined us there, and it was 37 churches represented. It was a full house. Also, the benefit on Saturday night for the Gospel Mission, and Carrie was there working, volunteering. And I do have to say that Dave Hageberg and his wife Kathy, before they got there, spent the afternoon clearing brush out at the county foreclosed house on Lafayette.
Looks good, yeah.
And Harold Washington, out of his own pocket,
Fun.
redid the roof on
Right.
that. And so the progress is ongoing there, and they're very excited about that as a new addition to their growing their growing facilities out there. So it was really good to hear about that. Also, yesterday at AOC, the House Bill 3383, the DHS bill, got approved and supported by HHS and Legislative Committee. And then in the afternoon, the Housing and Human Services Committee sent it on to Ways and Means. So it's going to have some amendments, but maybe with any luck, we'll have a new and improved option for child welfare in this county. As you know, we're hearing day by day that's much needed.
Another great program that starts in Yamhill County.
Exactly, exactly.
I don't have a lot to report, except I will tomorrow be meeting with the governor at 3 o'clock regarding the Dundee-Newburgh bypass and transportation funding. And then at 5 o'clock, I'll be testifying in front of the Oregon Transportation Commission at Salem regarding funding. But we have a couple other meetings set up between the 3 o'clock and the 5 o'clock where I plan on, hopefully we'll get about a half an hour with the governor talking about some other issues for housing and homeless, and maybe try to get her ear on a couple other issues. And then the only other thing is tomorrow I'll be at in West Lynn getting, I think, sworn in. I don't know what sworn in or sworn at the Oregon, or the Willamette Falls Locks Commission meeting. What a big one. So, there's a lot of, the locks is picking up a lot of steam now. It looks like there's gonna be, some federal money to take it over from Army Corps of Engineers and redo the locks to make sure they stay open. And Oregon Cities and Clackamas County's budgeting money for the Oregon City side to hopefully turn that into a downtown walkway and a lot of amphitheaters. Because if you go through the old mills, it's amazing. If you walk through the old mills, the paper mills on the Oregon City side, the old original streets, cobblestone streets and the concrete streets are still there. They're still inside the buildings, so hopefully that'll go. But that's all I have, so does anybody have anything else? Staff have anything? Kristen, you have anything?
Before the soccer reference, I just remembered,
I wasn't gonna let him talk about soccer.
or rugby,
Not that either.
I was informed of a
Didn't even
bill
have a chance to try.
that, I don't even remember the number for it, but we'll get to that, just, that proposes to fund a third bridge in Salem. And it requires creation of a taxing district in Yamhill County, Marion County, Polk, and Lynn. And I just wanted to throw out there, I'm not sure if we want to weigh in. I wanted to weigh in, but I thought that engaging all of us might be a better idea.
Yeah, City of Salem, just so everybody knows, the City of Salem is against the bridge. Now, of course, the residents of Polk County and West Salem want the bridge. I wouldn't be a bit surprised within 5 to 6 years if the city of West Salem doesn't do what Kaiser did and tries to actually form their own city, much like Kaiser
Yeah.
did. Because City of Salem and West Salem are totally different.
Two
so-
different,
Mhm.
yeah.
Two different, so. Okay, thanks, Casey. So, no soccer. so-
Liverpool 2, Porto 0, Tottenham 1, Man City 0.
Thank you.
Whoever they are. Ken, you got it in. Carolina, anything
Wow.
good? And I know staffs, I've already asked staff. So hearing no more, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.